All right, so this evening, our interviewee is none other than Mr. VIP himself, Sin0ptic. Hello, Sin0ptic. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm going to turn you up quite a bit. You're the man. You're the man. You're literally the man of the hour. So, how was your day? This is your evening, right? You're in the future.
Yeah, late afternoon. It's been not too bad. I took the day off so that I didn't get stuck at work, but
What's the
yeah.
temperature like over there right now?
It's not too bad at the moment. We're actually in the beginning of autumn, so or fall, as you would call it. So it's not too bad. It's like mid-20s Celsius.
So like low 70s here, I think, maybe perhaps something like that. Hold on.
Yeah.
Celsius to Fahrenheit. Low 20s. Let's say let's just 22. Yeah, it's like 71. That's like
Yeah.
that's like spring weather here in Oregon. It's like mid to high 60s right now. So I'd be like 18, 19 there.
Yeah. Our winters get pretty cold, but autumn is generally not too bad. Like low 20s. It's very comfortable.
Nice. Talking about weather as the first topic. Gotta have the icebreakers. I mean, he is in Australia, so
And I am notoriously quiet.
yeah. I mean, like the last time I feel like I asked Australians about the weather, they were like, "Yeah, it's like 47 here right now. It's
Yes.
like
Face
120
meltingly
degrees or
hot, yeah.
something." Yeah. All right. So, did you get a chance to kind of look over the questions a little bit?
I did, yes.
What time is it there, by the way? It's what, Friday evening right now? It's like dinner time.
It's 5:30.
Like dinner time. Nice. All right. So, usually what we do at the beginning of these interview things, let me turn on the music just a little bit, is kind of just get a background on you and just kind of history of your life, stuff that I wouldn't know, even if I mean, we've known each other for years at this point, but um things that I've never really asked you about, really. I probably have, but I may not remember because I'm a jerk like that. But so tell us a little about yourself.
Um, well, I'm Australian,
Mm-hmm.
if that wasn't obvious. Um, I don't know. I'm originally from Western Australia. Um, so it's like I think one of the most isolated capital cities in the world.
So
So
what kind of notable cities are over in Western Australia that we could kind of like remember?
uh so I grew up in the capital city, Perth. Um but I don't know, Western Australia is, I don't know, it's very far away from everything, so not a lot kind of happens there because everything is like it's literally Western Australia and then thousands of kilometers of desert and then the next capital city. So,
Got it.
um, but I grew up in the um in Perth until I was about 8, and then I moved 80 kilometers south and grew up in a beachside town called Mandurah. And yeah, it was nice. It was it's where everyone used to go. Well, we assumed all the elderly people went there to retire because it was close to the beach and very quiet. It's like a holiday town that people would go to. And then yeah, kind of
Nice.
grew up there, school.
What kind of like did you go to
And
university or did you just go to?
no, I was a bit of a meathead
Oh,
through
like
public school.
sports?
No, as in an idiot.
Sorry.
Made some
I just
poor
offended.
choices
I just
with
offended a bunch
how
of people there. Sorry.
um no, I kind of slacked off in year 12 and didn't do as well as I probably should have on my my entrance exams and stuff. But I went to we call it TAFE. Um, it's like in between university and kind of when you finish school, and did some course qualifications there in IT. But yeah, didn't go to uni. Want to, but it's kind of on the many list of or the list of many things to do. But um,
Sweet.
yeah, I've lived overseas for a year through work. Um, I got to kind of where I work. I got to open a contact center in New Zealand, um, and shut one down in another another place we went. So lots of interesting things. Lots of drinking.
Oh yeah.
It's always fun when you're overseas. Um, but yeah, I moved to South Australia. Um, I think 6 years ago.
Okay.
Um,
So what's down
to
there?
helps wine and churches.
Why? But like what
um,
kind of cities? Anything that we would know about?
uh, so I live in Adelaide, so it's the
Okay.
capital of South Australia. We are pretty well known for our wine. We have the Barossa Valley, which is it's I don't know if it's famous overseas, but this is one of the go-to places if you want wine and food and stuff in Australia. But yeah, we have the like the V8 supercars here, and um,
Nice.
yeah, generally it's kind of everything's finished by this time of the year, and it just tends to quieten down, and then December hits, and kind of have 3 months of being interesting, and then kind of we just go back to being normal again.
Are you a car guy? Is that why you focused on that?
I used to be, but
Okay.
not into. It's just one of the big events here. We have the V8 supercars. It shuts down kind of half the city because they race just on the road, so they reroute traffic, which is always fun, but and loud. Because they're just kind of next to where it runs past where I work, so you can hear all day is V8s.
I love that that's what you
Going.
focus on.
So, mm.
It's a sign. It's a sign that you're getting older. I think you focus on the
bit.
loudness of the cars. I
Yeah.
do that too.
But yeah, I
Nice.
don't know. That's kind of it.
Sweet. All right. Sorry, we had a little situation that I was trying to take care of. If anybody's watching and saw me look disinterested, I wasn't. I was trying to take care of a situation. So apologies to Sin0ptic about that. If you're comfortable talking about it, and you can just tell me to screw off if you'd like. But I was curious, like your day job, and you want to kind of talk about what your normal daily routine is a little bit.
So I run call centers.
Okay.
So I run one for general customer service for one of the brands that my company runs. And then I run our complaints department for our group of companies.
Are you allowed to share what kind of company it is? And maybe not specifically, but just like is it like a technology company?
It's a telecommunications company.
Okay. Got it.
So I've been with that company for I think I hit 13 years this year.
Oh wow. You're not even that old.
So,
was it like your
it was my
your first
my
job?
first real job. I started in the call center for one of the companies. So we were acquired by our I was a part of a company that was acquired in the call center doing tech support, and kind of have just learned stuff and moved up, and I run one of the tech support call centers and our complaints department. I look after kind of all of our regulatory and compliance stuff as well from a customer facing point of view to make sure that we're doing our jobs properly and deal with unhappy people and make them happy again.
Yeah, this is like one of those things. So the people, when you think about calling into support or something, and I don't know if you're on the support side, but I just imagine the situation where you are, and you're angry at a company for something that happened, and you're calling up support, and you're mean to them. You're talking to people theoretically like like Sin0ptic, or the people that are on his team. So it's just something to think about, like the people that are trying to help you. Is kind of putting a face to the other side of the phone, which is super interesting to me anyways.
Hmm. So I think the last time I checked, I look after like 130 people
Dang.
in 3 countries.
Wow.
So
It's awesome, man.
yeah, keeps me busy.
Is
Keeps
that
me out of
something,
trouble most of the time. So
is that like, are you looking at that as kind of your forever gig at this point?
yeah, I love what I do.
That's awesome.
Um my original goal was to, I don't know, I suppose be more of a tech nerd.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I like my qualifications are in like network administration and IT infrastructure. When I was studying, but the um when I started in doing customer service, and then kind of started managing, like coaching people and managing teams, I just kind of fell in love with like kind of building people
Mm-hmm.
and helping them and seeing them do really well. So it's kind of just been a natural progression for me to move into running call centers and I suppose managing managers, and kind of working in complaints, being able to fix customers' issues, and it's yeah, it gets me out of bed in the morning, which I think is kind of what you would hope for in
Yeah,
a job. Like if you love what you're doing, it's something to get out of bed in the morning for, and it's something that you want to get out of bed in the morning for. So
for sure.
and I've been doing it for over a decade now, and I still love doing it. So yeah,
Wow.
I
I
think
don't,
it'll probably be probably be my forever thing,
well,
in
more
some
power
kind
to
of
you, man, if you
fashion.
enjoy it. It's funny
Yeah.
because I've known people in the past that have worked in support and stuff like that, and they usually just feel super stressed out and feel like everybody, you know, people that call, they just hate them and all that stuff. And hearing your side of it is very interesting to me. So do you take calls from America?
No, so
Okay.
we have American customers.
Okay.
They've been some interesting customers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, we're a just a like a national telecommunications company. So we only have services in Australia.
Okay.
So sorry, I
Gotcha.
can't
No,
connect your internet.
I
Yeah.
was like weirdly alluding to maybe that's why you've had better experiences, is that you haven't had to deal with us Americans very much. So
Oh, you haven't experienced an Australian call center.
no, I
So
haven't experienced a call
we
center
have our
period.
we have
So
our own.
yeah.
I think pretty much kind of across the world they're all the same.
Okay.
Is people sometimes will see them as a place to vent,
Mm-hmm.
but I find most of the time it's you know they're people are unhappy because something's not working
Mm-hmm.
that they've paid for,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's just a where the kind of unfortunate avenue where they get to vent their frustrations, and most of the time it's not even about the fact that their internet's down. It's just that they've had a crappy day,
Right.
or they're just not having a great time in general. And we just happen to be kind of the faceless person on the other end of the phone line
And you
where
can't hang up.
there's no repercussions. Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, no, but
Oh, I
we have to
guess.
look after our staff.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's true.
sometimes they do get to end calls if they're being like personally targeted, but most of the time it's just, I don't know. It's kind of, we do tech support and therapy. It's kind of the way I like to look at it sometimes. So.
That's awesome. Well, you're a very calm spirit, so like I can understand why you're looked at as a leader in that way. Just you're a very logical thinker and very calm and don't overreact very easily and stuff, which I presume is a very uh needed kind of skill set for a job like that, you know. You don't want to be
It comes in handy.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want to be hot-headed or anything like that, because I can't imagine that that wouldn't work out too well.
No, no, not at all. No.
All right. All right, moving on. Unless you haven't, if you're ever like in the middle of a thought, or if you have more, always just stop me and feel free to elaborate or whatever.
Oh, good.
I was curious. I mean, we asked a question to Sugar Ray last month about Australia and kind of specifically about like what a day in Australia was like. But I wanted to ask you a similar question, but kind of a little bit different. What are some things about Australia that people may not know about? I mean, we know you guys love your Vegemite, and there's lots of deadly animals and things like that. Is there anything that you can think of that we, as in the rest of the world, may not know about Australia that you find interesting?
I don't know. Drop bears aren't real. It's
Bodkin.
probably one of the things that we that gets spread around. It was funny. I did make Sunny for a good few months think that drop bears are real. So um,
I've looked
that
up
was
those pictures. They're
fun.
terrifying, by the way.
Yeah, they are, but they're not real.
Yeah.
I
Do you know why they're called drop bears? Is there a reason?
because the meme for them was that they would drop from trees and attack you.
Oh,
And they look like a little bear, so it's very literal in the
like
naming.
a spider
Yeah.
bear. Good lord, dude.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think of some stuff that we people may not know about Australia, but I don't know. We're kind of very westernized, so it's I don't know. I wouldn't kind of imagine it to be overly different from most other places. But I've always lived in the cities as well, so it's just kind of yeah.
I think
I've traveled like a lot to like I spend a lot of time in the Philippines, and kind of makes you appreciate living in Australia. But yeah, I don't know. Like even thinking there, it's like kind of the same. It's very westernized. It's yeah, I don't know. Tim Tams are better here apparently.
That's what I've heard too. Because the Tim Tams here use American chocolate, so they're a little bit waxy. At some point, I wouldn't be opposed to trying. And I didn't dislike Tim Tams, but after a while, you definitely started to kind of taste that waxiness in the chocolate.
Yeah. Did you use one as a straw though?
I did. And then the entire Tim Tam was like, it just kind of almost like disintegrates after you've used it as a straw. You just put it in your mouth and it just like completely falls apart.
Yep.
There's no structural integrity in it anymore. But yeah, cool. If you think of anything off the cuff, just feel free.
Yeah. Okay.
When did you get started gaming? Like, what's your history into the gaming world?
I kind of grew up with it. So when I was very young, my dad used to run a video store.
Oh, lucky dog.
So he used to be able to bring home the consoles that would be coming in, because the store used to be able to go in, and back in the day used to be able to go in and rent a console for a week.
Yep, I remember that.
When video games would take an hour to finish, rather than 3 years to be able to play through one story game. So but we used to go there after school until mum had finished work and would come pick us up. And they had a Street Fighter arcade machine that would occupy me for many hours a week.
Was it Street Fighter 2?
Yeah, I think so.
That was one of my first fighting games too, specifically.
Yeah. Dad would just give us a bag of 20-cent pieces and send us away, me and my brother, and we would stay quiet in the corner and not annoy customers, and we would play Street Fighter for about an hour. And then I think I would have been maybe like 7 when that started.
So siblings?
I'm the eldest. I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Makes sense. So wait, younger brother, younger sister, are they I don't want to ask too many questions, but I'm just curious how much younger?
My brother is 2 years younger than I am, and my sister is 7 years younger than I am.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, I don't want to get too personal. I mean, I have additional questions, but that's your family, man.
That's fine.
Do you remember? I mean, you were talking about Street Fighter, so do you remember like the first system or game that you played?
It would have been probably the NES.
Okay.
I think the first game I can remember playing is like Battletoads.
Dude, oh my god! I don't know if I've ever beat that game.
So. I have, and yeah, it's one of the games that we just played over and over and over again.
It's a great game, but so frustrating.
It's so good. Yeah. One thing you get them on, like when I had the Wii, when I bought that, and you had all the
virtual console stuff,
the virtual console games. Yeah. you play them these days and you feel like you are so very bad at
Yep.
video games
Mm-hmm.
because you can't get past the first level. But
Mm-hmm.
when you were 6, you were a Nintendo master and you could just sit down and beat the game, and then you may as well not even bother playing these days. It's just, if you're not under 10, you can't play old video games
Well,
anymore.
right.
So.
Well, it's basically like and like kids are so much better at video games than adults are now too. But it's like every game was Dark Souls, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everything was so
no
punishingly,
saves,
frustratingly punishing that like, it's just it's crazy. I was curious if your parents played video games because your dad owned a video store.
No. My parents are technologically challenged.
And they owned a video store. That's crazy.
Well, in the day, it was mainly like the games
VHS
were
and console
fairly
games.
new, but it was primarily like videos, like people coming in to rent VHSs and stuff like that before the internet was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just kind of on the side. But yeah, like my dad would play video games. My mum, I think her extent is she plays like the little mobile games like solitaire and all of that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
But yeah, no, otherwise fairly technologically challenged.
Gotcha.
So
Did you guys what was I gonna say? Crap. I was gonna, there was something, can't remember, and we're like in a fight here that I'm trying to think about it. I'll come back to it. So we got through your first game and system. Parents didn't play. And what was your what was the story behind the name Sin0ptic, specifically with the 0?
the O wasn't available.
I figured that.
So that's how the 0 came to be. But it also wasn't it was originally Sin0ptic with a Y. And it was originally
Oh, SYN. I was like SINYP. That's not
Sin0ptic. No, not that one. No, it was originally so Sin0ptic was, I only vaguely remember why or when I chose it, but it was my when I first set up Steam and I had to pick a username. I think I was struggling for a username, and I think I had like the I think it was like the BOM website, which is like the weather website for us, the Bureau of Meteorology, and it had on the side, it had Synaptic Forecast, and I don't know, I like the way the word sounded. Like that's literally how my username came to be, was I liked the way that it sounded, but I didn't want it to be weather related. And I don't know, I think it was more kind of, my original username was actually Synoptic Failure. And then I just shortened that to Synoptic, and then it's been through various iterations as things were and weren't available. And then yeah, I have Synoptic with a 0 on most things now. So
you've had Sin0ptic as part of your name for probably 20 years or so.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Time.
My childhood name is a little less impressive and a lot more 12-year-old. Jblade00. I would have been Jblade, but like you said, it wasn't available, and Jblade 0 wasn't available, so I went with Jblade 00. And had Jblade 00 not been available, I would have gone with Jblade 007.
There's a few accounts with _AU on them that I had to use for a while until until they became available.
Like your PlayStation name is still.
Yes, yeah. That's I think probably one of the last ones. And Origin. There's someone has Synoptic on Origin, so I think I put 2 eyes in it instead because nothing else was available. So but yeah, most things I have my current spelling on.
Gotcha. Well, I mean I like the name. I think it's clean. Obviously, if I, and I'm sure you would too, were able to drop the 0, it'd be awesome too. But kind of, I was thinking that Synoptic had something to do perhaps with like a lens or like sniping or You know, like
No, I
some
can't
kind of
aim. So it's
perfect.
definitely not to do with
Perfect.
that.
Perfect. I remember the question, by the way, when you were talking about all that stuff.
Mm.
Did you guys have like AOL over in Australia and stuff?
We knew what AOL was, and I think we could get AOL as dial-up internet.
Right. Well, that's what it
Um,
was.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure we had that here, but it wasn't kind of huge.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
What did you
we had
guys have
dial-up for so
then?
long.
Like, I'm thinking probably would have been like early mid 90s when internet started to become available because you were talking about the time before internet and stuff. You remember what
Um,
service you used to get online first?
the my first internet connection was a dial-up connection, and it would be limited to 4-hour sessions, and then you would have to reconnect,
Was there like a name
and
to
that
the
was kind of
service or anything?
just dial-up. That's really all it was. We had 56K dial-up, and then
56K was fast. That was the top of the line dial up for
yeah.
me. I remember 14.4.
When was the internet kind of didn't really become a thing for me until until I got into kind of the higher levels of primary school, or like my first few years of high school when I started to need it for school. Um, so then that's kind of when I would get the internet. But
Do you
yeah, I don't
think
know, when we were younger, I know most of the time we just play outside if we weren't.
Yeah, when outside was
Those-
something you actually did. Yeah, I
yeah, when
remember.
people weren't afraid of outside, and yeah, it's
Oh, we were
but
afraid
yeah,
of it.
the internet kind of wasn't a huge thing for me. Yeah, not until I started having a need for it more for school than anything. But
Mhm.
yeah, but dial up for a long time. The 4-hour sessions were annoying, and
Interesting.
then mum would inevitably have to make a phone call while I was in the middle of
Right?
something, and it would disconnect the
Uh-huh.
internet.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, that was always fun. Yeah.
Would your parents like turn off your Nintendo and tell you to go outside and stuff?
Yes, we
That's
did have
what my mom
limits
did.
on the amount of time we could spend playing games before we had to go outside.
Did you guys do the
And
disconnect the AV cables trick and leave the Nintendo on?
uh, oh no, we would have to like
Actually,
we would be
legitimately turn it
marched
off power?
outside. Yeah, they would be off, and then we would have to go to our friend's house or to the park or take the dog somewhere or something like
Right.
that. Like we would be forced outside for sunshine, so that we weren't just sitting in front of the TV for endless hours.
Right. My brother and I were like that too. That's like the one thing that we actually bonded over was video games. Like the only thing was video games. But I get the sense that you didn't know about the AV cable trick. If you would take the AV cables or like the cable connection or disconnect the AV cables from the back of the Nintendo, it would keep the Nintendo on because like that was before save states and everything, and you could just plug the AV cables back in later and pick up back where you left off without turning off the
Yeah, no,
Nintendo.
ours will just get turned off
Okay.
because it'd be on the family TV. So
Right. Well, you could still watch
yeah.
You could still watch TV channels and stuff if you had the AV unplugged.
Yeah, like, Dad would normally just make sure everything was turned off when we were little. Yeah.
Got you. Makes sense. Cool. Well, yeah. So we went through the 0. Now, still staying with your past, do you have any like crazy stories that you like to tell about your life, about your childhood history, anything like that?
I was thinking about this as well, and there's probably not so much from my childhood, but probably the crazy ones I probably can't tell on stream.
Oh.
But it's just I think from when I was little, I think there was a period of time, and I think my brother would remember this, and my sister might a little bit, where everything I would do would result in some kind of an injury to my brother.
Oh, to your brother.
Um, and it wasn't anything malicious. It was
Mhm.
just he would happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when I would do something. So, like on the way to school one day, I got out of the car and shut the door, and his hand happened to be around um the pillar where his door was,
Mhm.
and I slammed all 4 of his fingers in the um, in the door and broke his hand. Um, then that was fun for me because that was my fault. I think we were playing and I didn't see him and we kind of bumped into each other and I sent him flying through a wall.
Wait, whoa, whoa,
And
whoa, whoa,
his
whoa, whoa. Elaborate. Through a wall. You don't just choose those words willy nilly.
well, his head went through the plaster, about 2 inches away from the supporting beam. And then
I'm just
I think
picturing
we
like
were
like a really, you know, like one of those, oh man, one of those TV episodes or something. I could just like
yeah,
neck deep.
yeah, his head was in the wall, yeah, and
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That's horrible.
yeah. Oh, I look back on it and it's hilarious
Yeah.
because everything I did was to the
Oh
point where it
man.
was going to cause him some injury, but it could have been so much worse. But yeah, and then like other things we'd be playing and it'd be perfectly harmless, and then he would move, and I would I think we were actually pretend like we were playing and we were being Ninja Turtles, and
Oh.
um I kicked like we were play fighting and I accidentally connected with his hand and broke his hand again. Like broke his pinky kind of folded all the way back and
Oh.
he jumped at me and I think broke his toe. But yeah, just there was just a period of time, like a good like probably 6 to 12 months where every time I was near him would result in some kind of an injury.
Dang.
Um
Well, and
yeah.
you're not a small guy, even though like on, you know, because Sin0ptic streams, if you guys don't know, twitch.tv/Sin0ptic, and with a 0, of course. But his camera doesn't show exactly how big his stature is. How tall are you, Sin0ptic?
I am 6'5".
And he's not a
So
small
100
6'5" either. He's like a football player 6'5". How big are your siblings?
My brother is 6'2", and I think my sister's 5'7". She took after my mum.
Okay. And when you guys were little and you're talking about like being, you know, the friendly giant, were you tall, like super tall then too, and then your siblings were quite a bit smaller than you?
Yeah, I was a good, probably foot taller than my brother for a while when we were younger.
Man.
Yeah, and I've never been like a little kid. So
Did you play
it's
sports? You
yeah.
talked about the term earlier that I won't say again. But did you play any sports as a kid with your stature?
Yeah, I used to do basketball.
Okay, makes sense.
So and then
Rugby,
basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball.
they had hockey in
Um,
Australia.
I used to play hockey through school. Yeah, was
Interesting.
on the
Wait, there's a
the
school
school.
hockey team?
Yeah, my school. We used to have
Damn.
like in like school, like inter school, sports competitions and stuff. So we would have our team, and we'd go play against all the other schools in the region. So yeah.
Did you guys have like a hockey rink in your like high school?
Oh, outdoor hockey. So hockey on
Oh,
grass.
like field
Yeah.
hockey.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's not really, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything here. I don't know of very many male field hockey teams in America. There might be, but I haven't really been exposed to any of that. I know that there's like women field hockey leagues. Yeah, lacrosse is different. Field hockey, literally, there's curved sticks on like grass, like a grass field, like a soccer field, basically. And I don't know all the rules or anything like that, but yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. But I used to do a lot of sport when I was like when I was in my teens, like early teens through to I think when I finished school and yeah. And I
cool.
was tall, so everyone like I was just kind of pushed into basketball through school and
You were one of the
Yeah,
taller kids.
I was taller than everybody in my school, so
So you
it
were the
was just a
center.
natural thing that
Yeah.
I was. Yeah, basketball was just one of those things that I should do because no one could reach the ball if I had it. So,
Did you dunk?
no, the but it was just if I had the ball up in the air, then it was safe.
That just gives me PTSD of my older brother, like holding my forehead and holding the ball away from me, like you're not gonna get it, you know, because I've always been the runt of the family, so I just picture that. So what are some dreams for your future? I mean, you talked about the job that you have now is probably your forever job. You have any like short-term, long-term goals and aspirations that you think about often?
Yeah, I think my next kind of set of goals is to undo my undo my 20s and my penchant for credit cards. So
Did you say undo
that's
your 20s?
yes, because I used to love credit cards and they didn't used to love
Oh,
me.
okay, okay.
So not actually my 20s. I had fun in my 20s.
Yeah, no, I was
yeah,
like, is that a term that I'm unfamiliar with? Got it. So,
it was
okay,
funded by Visa and Mastercard.
got it.
So I'm almost done with paying off all of that, and then it's house and all that, just more debt, but good debt.
Well, yeah,
And
quote
then,
unquote good debt. I
yeah,
desperately want to hear these stories about your early 20s. These sound entertaining to me.
it's mainly to do with work and living in countries where most things would cost $1. So being very drunk and it only costing me like $30 and then shenanigans.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, just kind of the normal stuff at the moment. Like, I think I've kind of got to that point where I want to own my own home. I want to get rid of my debt and kind of do all that normal stuff. And then long term is I want to travel more, but not with work. I want to just travel and
Vacation
be able to do
stuff.
whatever I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try and do that probably every couple of years. So I think the last one I went to, my last vacation was I went to Hong Kong, went to Disneyland.
Wait, Disneyland in Hong Kong?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What is different about Disneyland in Hong Kong, and why did you choose to go there? In Hong Kong.
I went with one of my friends, and he wanted to go. When we were planning our holiday, we were always going to go back to the Philippines as part of our holiday because I just have so many friends there that I made when I was working there. So we try and kind of either start or end our trips there, and Hong Kong fit into the budget to go and do that, and we wanted to go there and kind of experience the culture and the food. And then I really wanted to go to Disneyland because I'm a child, and I wanted to eat Mickey Mouse waffles and ride the rides and spend way too much money on keychains and Mickey Mouse things. So
definitely not cheap. So they don't have any kind of Disney in Australia, then I take it.
No, it's we have
makes sense now.
We're kind of not huge on the theme parks. Like, we have some on kind of on the eastern coast.
Which is funny because you guys like terrifying things, and to me, roller coasters are terrifying. So of course, it seems like you guys would have all of them there.
Since we like terrifying things, we just live in a country where terrifying things try and kill us. So but yeah, we have like there's some big theme parks in the Gold Coast. But yeah, we don't really have any in South Australia, and when I left WA, there wasn't really any kind of theme parky stuff. So, but yeah, I really wanted to go to Disneyland, and Hong Kong came up, and I dragged my friend around around Disneyland for like 9 hours, and went on every single ride that I could get on, and ate various Mickey Mouse shaped things, and then watched the fireworks and went home and felt like I was 4 and just having a great time.
Were the lines bad at like the Hong Kong Disneyland?
Some of them were, yeah. So, because they just opened up the Star Wars
Oh yeah.
the Star Wars part, and they were building the Iron Man section when we were there. So, um, the only problem is it's built for Hong Kong. So some of the rides were a bit extra scary because they're not built for a 6'5" dude.
Low bridge.
More specifically the roller coasters. So the I remember the Star Wars roller coaster was in the dark. And the carts were a little bit small, so I was in my own cart so that I could fit in there with my legs. And they were kind of pretzeled in, and they were like, there is some low-hanging scaffolding, so you may want to duck around corners. So I'm just kind of in the dark.
Yikes, dude.
Ducking down in a roller coaster. But I was laughing through the entire thing, not knowing which way you were going to be flung around the next corner. And everyone else is screaming, and I'm just sitting there absolutely losing it in the front of the roller coaster, loving life, and trying to not be decapitated on some scaffolding. So,
what was the name of that? So it was the Star Wars ride. I haven't been on that one. I've been on Space Mountain, and I've been on Rock and Roller Coaster. Those are both in the dark. Both of those actually aren't too bad because there was like no, I don't know if they have that in the Hong Kong one, either of those, but there's no like drops where you feel weightless on either of those. So it really wasn't that bad for me. But what was the Star Wars roller coaster like?
It was. I don't think there was too many drops. There was just a lot of being kind of thrown around from side to side. But I think there was kind of one bigger one, and that was fun. But I was kind of crammed into this tiny little roller coaster cart. So the whole weightless thing wasn't really too much of an issue because I was just stuck. So it's just, I knew where I was. I wasn't moving inside that roller coaster cart, but yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to go to Guardian Con sometime and go to Disney World.
It's on the plans. I just need to save the money. But it is on the plans to come to the States and do the Guardian Con things and come see people and actually meet the people that I talk to on a regular basis.
Sure.
I just don't know when, so yeah.
Gotcha. Sweet. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you? And why?
It depends. So, if I don't know, it depends. If I don't know someone, will tend to just not talk to them. So it'd be a 0 because I don't know, but I think once I get to know someone, probably, I don't know, like a 7 or an 8.
Oh wow.
I'm really loud when I'm comfortable with people.
Okay, I can see that.
At work, like I'm really irritating. And
I can't see that.
And yeah, I annoy most of the people in a good way, and most of the people I work with would find me a bit weird and annoying, but yeah, I don't know. My sister thinks I'm weird.
I think a lot of I think pretty much every woman in the world thinks I'm weird, including my wife. So, makes sense. Okay. So, if you could send a message to yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell younger Sin0ptic? Now, and I want you to think about something that we haven't talked about, so don't think about credit.
I think it would be not caring as much about what other people think about you, or the way that they think that you should act, or the way that you should behave, and not letting that I suppose influence the way that you grow up.
Sure.
I think I let that. I don't know, because I tend to be more of a. I would probably describe myself as a more reserved person. So, I would just, well, most of the time, just kind of go with the flow. And if that wasn't kind of what I would normally do, I would still kind of make it work until it kind of became the norm. But I think that's kind of growing up that, I suppose, made me miss out on some opportunities because of not kind of standing out, or not, I don't know, just kind of not really being authentic would be one way of saying it. I'm just
Okay.
kind of blending in because that's what was expected, or that's what what I thought everyone wanted.
Sure.
And just, yeah, I think if there's one thing I could change when I was younger, it would be kind of just not really caring about what kind of being what people expected, and just kind of, be comfortable in my own skin, and
Good one.
kind of see where that went.
Yeah.
But yeah, no credit cards, because that's just
there was a saying, and I don't know the exact verbiage of it, but it's something along the lines of like the nail that sticks out gets struck, or something like that. And I think that goes along with in the fear a lot of younger kids and myself too had, that you didn't want to stick out to the point where you were noticed for negative things.
yeah,
And that kind of, it almost like masks the good things because you're afraid to show any bad and stick out like a nail. But I totally hear where you're coming from with that advice. That's good advice. Moving on to Destiny stuff specifically. What's your favorite part about Destiny?
it used to be that it was just a really fun game, and when I first started playing Destiny, I was a solo player for like a year and a half, and all I did was strikes and story and all of that kind of stuff. And but I think my favorite part now is just the community that comes along with it. It's like, I very rarely will play on my own. It's either playing with friends I've met through Twitch, friends I've made through LFGs. It's probably the only reason that one of the main reasons that I talk to my sister like every day, is because we play Destiny. We keep in touch, and
Oh,
we'll play video games, and we'll jump into chat and talk. And yeah, but it'll be it's I think for me, like, the game is fun, but it's less about the game and more what the game has kind of created for me, in that community, and being able to make friends, and yeah, just kind of push me out of my comfort zone with actually having to talk to people that I don't know. And
sure.
Yeah,
I can relate to that. So
yeah.
just touching back for like a half a second. So video games was something that you and your siblings bonded on as well.
My brother and I, yeah. My sister didn't used to really play video games when she was younger, and because she's a fair bit younger than I am,
Right.
it's only kind of more recently that that we've yeah, so we've kind of bonded over video games. It's I think it's a convenient excuse for us to talk to each other every day.
For sure. I get that. I think for a lot of people, video games is a way to connect, especially when you don't like live next to people anymore as you get older. It's that social. It's almost like calling on the phone and talking, but you feel like you're actually doing something instead of just sitting there.
Yeah, well, because my family still live in WA, so they're kind of either a 3 or 4 hour plane ride away, or it's like, I think, 2,500 kilometers away.
So like
from
7 miles
at the moment. So yeah, like 7 miles after conversion. So
sorry.
But yeah, it gives me a reason to, or not gives me a reason, but gives me a the ability to talk to my sister every day. And then sometimes mum will grab her headset, and I'll talk to mum. And
well, that's nice. Very
yeah,
wholesome.
like in a ways. Yeah,
Very
Mum
wholesome.
will sometimes come in to where my sister is, and she'll see me when I'm streaming as well, and then it just makes it awkward because I know that Mum's watching and I have to be good. But yeah, it was weird. I remember one time, I think when Mum first realized that my sister and I were playing video games together, and we were playing Destiny, and I was just using the wave emote, and my sister was like, "No, he's right there. He's waving at you," and it just confused the shit out of her for a very long time until she
Like
realized that the person, that the guardian on the screen waving was
you.
her son.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny.
but again, technologically challenged, so she didn't quite understand what was going on. I think.
Yeah, my parents never played video
Yeah.
games other than maybe Duck Hunt every once in a while. But yeah, it's awesome. So how did you get started writing? I did a little bit of background information of you. And I was a little bit surprised, actually, that you didn't have more hours in the game. And I was curious, so I did a little bit more digging. I don't know if you know that exactly how many hours you have between Destiny 1 and 2 at this point. You want to know?
It's. I think it's only. I know it's more. It's.
I mean, it's a lot of hours, don't get me wrong, but for some reason I expected you to have more.
Yeah, well, I would normally, because I used to do solo only for such a long time, it would be play for a couple of hours and then do something else.
Right.
But it wasn't really until and then not even really then. It wasn't really until I kind of found um, until I discovered Twitch that I started playing a lot more. But before then, there was like one guy at work that would play Destiny as well, and we would attempt raids from time to time, but yeah, most of my first couple of years of Destiny were like maybe a couple of hours a day doing solo stuff and then playing other stuff.
Gotcha. For anybody who's curious now, since I've alluded to it, how many hours he has, it's right in the range of like 2,500 total between Destiny 1 and 2. And that goes back all the way till like I mean, I was on looking at your raid stuff. Your first raid attempt was October 14th, 2015. So about a year after the game came out was your first raid attempt. At least that was tracked.
Yeah, a horrible attempt at King's Fall.
Have you been playing Destiny for the entire like duration of year 1 and stuff too?
I wasn't a day one player.
Okay.
I think I started playing when the first expansion came out.
First expansion was Crota's End, right? Pretty sure. Or the Dark Below.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny that your first raid attempt was King's Fall, like the third raid. I thought that was kind of cool. And that wasn't too far after it was released either.
Yeah, it was that would have been when I first realized that one of the guys I worked with played as well, and he raided a lot, so they needed a sixth, and I jumped on and we tried and failed.
Do you remember what the experience was like? Can you describe it to us? Like how long it was, and was it frustrating? What kind of weapons did you have?
My first raid was 5 people all wanting to be in charge, but no one wanting to teach me what to do. So I was very much running around in circles and just trying not to die. And then, yeah, it wasn't fun. I think we got up to I think that one we only got up to totems, and then the group just kind of disbanded out of frustration. But yeah, no one wanted to kind of teach anyone. No one was willing to let somebody else take charge and kind of control what was going on. So
right, and everybody has their own like little strats and stuff they want to do, and
Yeah, and I think like 5 minutes into my first to that raid, someone bailed. Um, and so we had to try and find someone else to come in.
Hmm.
And it just wasn't. It was. I mean, it was fun because it was King's Fall is a fun raid, and I
Mm-hmm.
was learning stuff. But it wasn't. It wasn't great. Yeah, I just kind of felt like I was baggage because I didn't know what I was doing. Um,
I can
and
understand
then
that
yeah,
feeling.
that was my next few King's Falls. Actually, I think I ran with the same guy from work and different kind of varying people that he would play with, and I think that was my first half dozen or so King's Falls were all complete rubbish.
I did see that,
Yeah,
like at like I don't know, it was like 7 or 8 of them. The first 7 or 8 that you had weren't clears,
yeah,
something like that. Uh, I mean, I think that's a pretty typical experience for people's first raid, and good on you for like sticking with it, because I think a lot of people when they have that experience, they just get frustrated and don't want to play. You know, they don't want to try to raid again. But
Well, that would have been around the time that my sister started playing as well, because
oh,
we've played together since D1.
that's
Um,
cool.
so I actually did my first raid clear with her. I think
So let me guess, she's
um,
on Xbox.
she is Xbox, yeah.
So that's why you keep your Xbox character ranked up, or one of the reasons.
Um, one of, yeah, so that I can play with her, but still the majority of the people that I still play with are on Xbox still.
Gotcha. Yeah, so your first raid clear success was about a week and a half later from your first raid attempt, and that was a Crota. Can you walk us through that a little bit? What that was like?
I think it was just that Crota was easier to carry.
Okay.
Um, and my sister is really good at the game.
Oh, so your first clear was with her. That's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we were playing with a couple others that were fairly good at the game as well, and I think we'd gotten rid of some other people, and we had people who were willing to do stuff, like change characters if we needed it, and actually
Mm-hmm.
teach me what was going on. And the fact that Crota was a strike helped as well. Um,
I mean, I'm trying to think back on exactly when that was. What hard mode came out in like what, March of that year? So yeah, by the time you got your first clear, everybody had figured out all the strats. You know, everybody was doing the bridge cheese and all that kind of stuff, and was just doing it on a regular basis. So, I think, right?
yeah,
'Cause it was like a
yeah.
year.
So there were definitely parts that were skipped,
Mm-hmm.
um, and mechanics that I didn't come to understand until I ran through um, with other people. But it was sweet loot,
Cool. Uh,
sweet level 30 loot.
right. So our first raid together was August 5th of 2016, which was almost exactly a year after I started streaming. We had just no, we weren't partnered yet, but it was
No.
close. And I don't remember the raid, but I was curious if you remember it. And it was it
Um,
was what raid was it? It
I
was Vogue, I think. Was our first raid
um,
together.
was it Fog or was it
I think. I
King's
didn't
Fall?
it definitely well, our first raid together definitely wasn't King's Fall, I don't think. Or was it? I didn't check dates on our first raid together.
Let me have a look. I was doing a little digging into my clears. Yeah, our first King's Fall was May 4th, I think.
2016?
Yeah.
Oh.
I
So yeah,
think.
that would have been before.
And the only reason that I remember it is because my internet was being garbage and I was lagging all over the place at Sisters and disconnecting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it came good and we finished. um, but yeah, it was fun. I think the whole reason that I started looking, or started kind of investigating more about kind of what Twitch was and kind of Twitch communities was I a lot of the raids that I was doing were LFG raids, and they just weren't fun. Like it was people not looking to teach anyone, people expecting you to have all the gear and know what you were doing and have. Oop, I pushed the wrong button. People expected you to have Galahorn and 100 clears, and then it just wasn't fun. So, yeah, it wasn't kind of until
You were pretty experienced at King's Fall at that point.
nope.
No?
That was my. I think our first raid was my 4th.
Okay.
King's Fall.
And I don't know, like, if your first King's Fall was hard mode or not. I didn't look into that at all, but
I don't think it would have been.
I don't remember when like hard mode came out, to be honest. It would have been out by then for sure.
Normal.
Wait,
Yeah,
yeah,
my
I think
first
so.
one was normal.
Hard mode would have been like December or January. All right. So and then I started looking towards your first clears. I was curious, did we get you any of your first clears on specific raids? And found that your first run or your first completion of Vogue, Wrath, and Leviathan were done with us. I don't know if you knew that before I sent those details to you.
It didn't. Vogue doesn't surprise me. I have like I have like 12 clears on Vogue. So that doesn't surprise me. But the Wrath.
He's double checking right now.
I am. I'm clicking through. I'm like Leviathan and Wrath. We tried. I'm pretty sure we tried day one with people from work that I used to play with, and the same with Leviathan. But they weren't. Yeah, they were. People just weren't prepared.
Oh, for sure.
Like we would have got through a little bit, and then just kind of the group would have disbanded. I remember for Leviathan, like because
Callus was a pain in the butt when it first came out. I remember.
We didn't get past We didn't get past baths on Leviathan on our first run.
Oh.
We were going for day one, and I had because the resets are that was after I think the resets had changed and it had become like 2:30 in the morning for us on a Wednesday. So I'd booked time off work, and one of the other guys had gone to bed like 3 hours earlier and had work at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and so he lasted about an hour and then just kind of quit. And then it wasn't everyone was already doing it, so at like 4 o'clock in the morning it was quite difficult to find someone else to jump in for a day one raid. So yeah, I think that was the last time I raided with them, actually, because it wasn't the first time that group just didn't kind of end well or work well.
Gotcha.
As a group playing. So
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think it was the same with Wrath. We got further through that one, but it was the same thing. It's just people weren't prepared for a day one raid taking all of day one.
Yeah. I remember my first King's Fall was that way. It took like 3 attempts, and I, like I was working from home and stuff, so it was easier for me. But I remember jumping in. We had spent and it was our clan, it was our 100 group, and we spent about 2.5 hours on King's Fall, got up to totems, and a couple of people had to bail. And then at that point it was like we couldn't find anybody else to replace them. And so we stopped, and then we picked it back up from totems, and then got to like Golgoroth, and then by the 3rd day we finally got it cleared. But I think that's a pretty typical experience for folks that aren't grinding the first 3 to 6 days or whatever before a raid, because it was always like the DLC would come out and then like 3 days later you had a raid. So
Yeah.
people are under leveled and under geared and all that stuff. Pretty typical.
Yeah. But it was just yeah, for me it was with the early raids, it was just people either not having the time or just not being kind of willing to teach someone that didn't know what they were doing. So
right,
I just started looking elsewhere for for people that were doing that. So that's how I kind of found Twitch and you.
Yeah, that's a good segue. So how exactly did you find the channel?
You I was you looked normal.
Got him.
And I mean that in the nicest possible way, but kind of looking through the Destiny directory, a lot of the bigger the bigger channels were like the chats weren't the chats were a bit kind of
Daunting.
toxic, and
yeah,
the streamers weren't, there was kind of no chance of kind of doing anything because they were focused on their own teams, and it just wasn't that end of the directory wasn't kind of where you were going to get a someone kind of looking for help.
right.
They had their teams, they were doing their own thing, which is cool. Like, that's, if people want to watch that, that's cool. But I was going through and jumping in a few, and people were just kind of, I don't know, people were just kind of being dicks, and I just kept going through, and then it's a process of elimination. It sounds horrible. It's just a process of elimination. We got down to JSniperton, and then I think I lurked in chat for ages before I actually said anything. And then I think it was just you were just kind of a normal dude playing video games, and you were teaching people, and you knew you had so much patience, and you knew what you were getting into. I suppose it's just what you did. You were taking people through the raids that had never done them, and it's exactly kind of what I was looking for. And then started doing more raids with you, and then and then it became more about the community rather than needing to kind of visit to get in on a raid and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, 100% process of elimination.
It's cool, man. A lot of people, when you ask them that question, they're like, "Oh, I think I was hanging out with another streamer and they raided you or something like that." But I feel like it's more rare, especially now, that somebody finds a channel. Well, I mean, this is also 2.5 years ago that we're talking about. Almost 3 years ago.
I didn't know what Twitch was, so the only reason I started finding Twitch was, I think one of the LFG guys had it in their Xbox stuff, or it was on one of the LFG websites, and then I just started looking through. But I didn't know that Twitch existed until I decided that I wanted to start actually doing more raids.
So, I found Twitch because Bungie was doing Twitch streams and stuff. That's kind of what led me to Twitch, to be honest. And that's when, Goth and Broman were on there, so then I followed them and stuff. So you didn't watch, any of the Bungie
no.
live casts or anything? Really? Interesting.
I didn't really do a lot of the online part of gaming until I decided I wanted to start doing raiding. None of the again, my internet's always been, well, until now, has always kind of been garbage as well, so it was kind of limiting. If I wanted to play video games, then I couldn't use the internet for anything else.
Right.
If I wanted to watch videos, then I couldn't play video games. So yeah, Twitch was a byproduct of starting raiding.
It's cool.
For me.
Dig it. And so we're kind of closing out here on the main question portion of it before we kind of ask chat if they have any questions for you. But What would be a favorite anecdote or piece of advice that you would give to other people or people that are listening or watching watching this?
Um, I was kind of these questions. It's not stuff that I don't know, just kind of popped to the top of my head. So I tried to think about this, but my probably my best advice for people, and I talk about this all the time at work with my staff and with new guys that are coming in, is um, be aware of your brand. I think that's one of the so the biggest things that I like to make sure that people understand is if you want to grow, if you want to develop, I suppose regardless of what it is, if you want to if you want to do better at, in your career, or you want to do better or be better kind of socially or in your personal life, you need to be aware of what your brand is, and then how your brand is interpreted and how you sell that to other people. So um, that was something one of my managers kind of drummed into me a lot. Um, and it's if you're aware of what your brand is, and your brand is not something that people are wanting to buy, then you need to be aware of what needs to happen with your brand, um, so that you can achieve what you want to be able to achieve.
Hmm. I've never thought of brand as being like a personal thing. I've always thought of
Mm.
brand as being like a professional thing, but it's really interesting to think about it on a personal level. That's really cool,
Yeah.
insightful.
So I think it's because we most of the time the people that come into the call centers are straight out of school, and like they're very young. A lot of the interviews that I used to do for staff were like 18 and 19-year olds kind of looking for their first jobs,
Hmm.
and they have, like, most of the time, kind of, it's a throwaway job for someone when they come in, and a call center work is not something that is a forever thing for a lot of people. But
For sure.
the um the attitude that a lot of them brought in was just, if they went somewhere else, it was going to be, they were going to be hindered for a significant amount of time until they figured it out on their own. So but then you kind of get to know them, and it's kind of how they are out of work as well, and you get to know them on a more personal level, and kind of get a gauge for their social skills. And I always feel like a hypocrite because I have horrible social skills. Like, I don't like talking to people unless I know them and I'm super comfortable with them. Um, but apparently, I could give good advice. Um, but yeah, being aware of your brand is something that I kind of always preach to people, anyone who listen.
It almost sounds like it's a little bit of like, be careful how you act always, because you never know who's watching and why. Because you're talking
Yeah.
about like almost like I'm just picturing you guys having like a drink after work or something, and you're just like looking at this kid across the table and be like, man, this kid is just not who I want working for us. You know what I mean? Like, and I
Oh,
could,
it's not even that. It's like, even in like social circles, like, if you want to be able to, if you want to be able to make friends, or you want to be able to to be able to bond with people, if you're not aware that you come across as a, a, a massive kind of dick on first
he's
impressions,
trying to find a more
then
a better word, and then he just said
a better
screw
way
it.
of saying that, yeah.
Love it, dude.
Then you're completely oblivious to what's going on. But if you're aware of your brand, and you can kind of put the dots together, then um, you can make adjustments. Not obviously change who you are, but make adjustments so that people want what you're selling, whether
For sure.
that's in your social circles, or whether that's in your professional career and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, everything's always about, or a lot of things are always about, the way that you're perceived.
Right.
Um, and yeah, you can make small changes that have big impact on the way that people view you and what you're about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. So does anybody in chat have any questions for Sin0ptic? Anything, you know, going back to the beginning of the interview, or just things that popped into your head, anything that within reason and appropriate, of course, that that you're curious about. And we'll kind of stay here for a second, but is I don't know if that's an appropriate question, Snarky.
Wait, what?
What's your favorite condiment?
Favorite condiment. I don't know. We've got probably mayonnaise. Yeah, I know you're not a fan, but it's delicious. Really good mayonnaise, not like the stuff.
Well, I've never had Australian
supermarket,
mayonnaise,
but...
so maybe it's different than mayonnaise here. Or do you get like is it like Myers? I don't even remember the brands of mayonnaise.
It's like homemade, like proper mayonnaise.
Is homemade mayonnaise a thing? I've not heard of homemade mayonnaise.
It's just mayonnaise is pretty much just eggs and oil.
Mm-hmm.
And
aioli, I guess is what they call it in restaurants and stuff. Yeah, I guess. There's usually like spices and stuff in that. Let's see here. Joshua, that question's around 2,500, by the way. How many hours he's played. It's a really interesting question, Taryn. What's your favorite soft food?
Favorite soft food?
I probably know what mine would be.
I don't really think I eat a lot of soft food. No, probably bread. It's really boring, but
bread and mayonnaise, perfect. Nailed it.
Bread and mayonnaise. No. We're building a sandwich.
I'm sensing a theme here. What's your favorite kind of lunch meat?
I don't know. I
was building on roast the sandwich beef, idea.
Actually, I do love roast beef.
Okay, yeah, roast beef's good.
Yeah.
You ever had corned beef on a like a deli sandwich?
Yes, yeah.
Stuff.
It's delicious.
How to run raids, Twisting Dreams? I guess that's a question for me. I'll just touch on it for a second. I've thought about doing some kind of content. I mean, we did do a little bit of like the quote unquote Sherpa school thing. We did a couple of those streams. It was just really difficult to stream it because I wanted to give the person who was running the raids the floor. And so I was kind of sitting back and not talking, which can be really tough to stream. So if I do that again, I might just do like a YouTube series on how to like teach raids. That was just a short one. I don't know who either of those people are. Ollie Flyboy, Shane Wayne, or Shane Warney, or Glenn McGrath.
Oh, Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath. They're cricket players.
Okay, Warren, got it. So what's your decision?
What's the question?
Which one would you choose?
I don't like cricket.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, you were asking very un-Australian
of me, but I cricket, and it may trigger the Australians in chat, but my cricket and football were things that were kind of shoved down my throat when I was younger, because it's the sports that Dad loved. It's the sports that my brother was playing, and they just, I don't know, I don't know what reason, but I just built kind of a negative relationship with football and cricket, so I just don't like them. Gotcha.
By the way, Twisting Dreams question was for you. For some reason, I think it's because you're not in chat. She tagged me to ask you. But I don't even know how much you Sherpa much. I know you will if you have to. But is that something that you enjoy doing, is Sherping?
I do enjoy it. tend to more do like the I don't know, like the secondary
Like the ringer
stuff. So
role. Yeah, he's really good at
yeah,
that. He's really good at kind of being the person that we can count on, and I say we as in like there's kind of a group of people that run raids on a regular basis, and Sin0ptic would be
yeah.
somebody that would be at the top of my list to bring in, to be honest, because he's
Oh,
kind and quiet and
I think that's probably ties into why I Sherpa less is because I don't know if you've noticed, but when I'm in party, I tend not to talk. So
well, let me
it
let me let
tends.
me when I said kind of quiet, I didn't mean quiet as in like I prefer
I'm
people who are silent. I just mean like respectful in a way that like when things are getting explained and stuff, he's not trying to like take it over is what I meant. I didn't mean like uh I didn't mean that he wasn't allowed to talk, because of course he is, because he's always super respectful that way. But um we have a good time when we raid, and he's been part of both my flawless runs for
Mhm.
the last couple of raids, right? You were part of the Last Wish and the Scourge runs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remembered Scourge, obviously. I couldn't remember if you were part of the final team for Last Wish Flawless or not. Because I think we had a
Yeah.
couple of
Last
attempts
wish
and had
was
to
the
switch a couple of
one I,
people in.
yeah, last wish is the one that I didn't fall out a window.
So at some point I will get bloopers up of those runs and you guys understand the whole window joke. And I need to, hopefully it's still clipped. It should be, and I can get your perspective and Schechter's perspective and clip him in there.
Yeah, I'm
Nate
pretty
had a,
sure
go ahead.
Fuzzy clipped it, so it'll
Yeah.
be in my clips. Yeah.
Nate had a question for you about sibling rivalry in video games. Does that ever keep you, does that ever like stay in the way of you guys like playing together?
No. Where my sister and I are both very passive human beings,
Mm-hmm.
so um, yeah, we just enjoy video games, and we will just yeah. She's even more passive than I am, so it sometimes it becomes difficult to actually figure out what we're doing because neither of us will want to make a decision, and we'll just kind of want to do what the other one wants to do, but the other one wants to do what the other one wants to do, so we just sit in orbit for a while.
It's like me
Um,
and my wife. God, we can never decide like what to eat or anything like that. Yeah, it's indecisiveness is real. I feel ya. There's a couple of good questions here. Let's see here. Is there one that Burr asked was, do you have any personal experiences or run-ins with like dangerous animals in Australia that you can share as like a story, short story?
we've had um, we've had like the normal stuff, like we've had like snakes and stuff in our backyard, and um, like we've had like it's just part of kind of living here, as we have fairly dangerous spiders that decide that inside is better than outside, but
Uh,
not really. Like I've always lived in cities, so it's not like we get um, it's not like we have to kind of worry about going outside and then there's a crocodile outside or something like that. Like it's
Apparently that
yeah,
happens in
it's just
Florida.
it's yeah, we've had um like because we when I used to live in WA, we lived in a kind of an area that was still having houses built and kind of the trees and stuff knocked down, so we would get snakes in our backyard every now and then just because someone had decided to rip down their home to build more houses. So um but we most of the time it's just, oh look, there's a snake, so you go inside and um the you call the rangers department, would be like animal control, and they send somebody out to deal with it so that I don't have to.
Any way
um
that they deal with it that I wouldn't expect? Like, do they put them in
Not
bags
really.
and take them and put them back in the
Yeah,
wild?
it'd be, yeah, they take them and then rehome them somewhere else,
Hmm.
but
I just was
um
picturing some off the wall thing, like, oh yeah, they come and like light them on fire and they explode or something.
um when I was younger, because I've always had dogs growing up, and um depending on what kind of snake it was, like sometimes dad would grab a shovel and decapitate said snake so that the dog wasn't in trouble or the dog wasn't in
Mm-hmm.
danger or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, yeah. Otherwise, it's just spiders. There's spiders everywhere.
Growing up in Alabama, I have a similar story about like a giant snake, terrifying.
Mm.
Chopped his head off with a hoe. I didn't. Somebody's dad did. Shocky has a good question. As somebody who works in a contact center, how do you recognize employees' successes or improvements to build upon their brand and push them forward?
It's we it's kind of part of the normal stuff that we run through is we build career development plans with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of part of what we've always done. So when I was a when I was a team leader before I was doing what I'm doing now, it would just be part of the job. You would talk to your staff, you would find out what they wanted to do, and you would facilitate what you could for them to be able to improve or upskill or anything like that. So I remember one of the girls I used to have in my team. She wanted to get into database management and programming and all of that kind of like very kind of behind the scenes, very nerdy, very technical stuff. And we kind of worked out what her skills were. We went through what she was studying, and then kind of matched it up with what we could do at work. And we actually moved her into our database team for like a month, so that she could get some real world experience at it and talk to those guys and be part of the team and see what it was like. And then she ended up quitting because she landed a job because she actually had some experience doing it. So being able to organize some work experience for her and put her theoretical knowledge into practice, got her a new job and more money and doing what she wants. But I've had others that have really wanted to get into management, and it's kind of building them up and taking them along to the things that you can and showing them what would be expected, kind of getting them to, I suppose, lead a day in my life and kind of see what I was doing, and then let them do it and just kind of sit in the background a little bit and guide them. But yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Did Sin0ptic mention what his favorite food is? He did not.
My favorite food is called gibonitsa.
What on earth is that?
So my background is Serbian Dutch. So
like language
gibonitsa,
or like family history?
Family history.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So gibonitsa is a traditional Serbian cheese pie. And it's delicious.
How bad can it be? What's in it?
It's lots of cheese and eggs and pastry and delicious.
Eggs.
Is
it like a breakfast thing?
Yeah. It's like an all day thing.
Okay.
So, but you like kind of make like a cheese custard almost, and then you layer it up with phyllo pastry, and then you just cook it for like an hour, and it all firms up and soaks into the pastry, and it's delicious.
I mean, how bad could it be?
It's very bad for you.
Of course.
It has like 2 pounds of 2 pounds? Yeah, 2 pounds of cheese in it and a dozen eggs. And
so it's a big pie. It's not like a personal like chicken pot pie or something.
No, it's you make it for like my nan would, if every time I would go to my nan's, she would make one, and it would be for like, if we were going over for dinner or that kind of stuff. Like you make it. It's not something that you would ever want to scale down because there'd be less of it.
Gotcha. Is that something you guys eat on holidays and stuff too, for with family and stuff?
Yeah, we would always eat it at we call it Slava, but it's the Serbian Christmas, so it's the day after my birthday. And we would go to my nan's, and she would make up a bunch of them, and we would eat that with everything else. Yeah, but that was always my favorite. She would always make it for me, and it always made me feel special because she wouldn't make it for my brother or my sister or my cousins. It would only be when I went there. So I was like, I was never going to tell them, but I was the favorite. So
Did she always ever say like, "Oh, Sin is just a growing boy"?
Yes, and also being the favorite helped, and she just because I was the being the first grandson was important to always. It was special to my to my to my to my granddad. So it was I was always um, more special than my cousins.
Super humble about it too. I love it. It's great. Like, I always think in situations like that you would have some kind of like some like hatred from your not hatred, but like some I had the wrong screen on. Like your siblings kind of being upset at you for that kind of thing.
No, it never kind of really was an issue.
Gotcha. That's good. Because if it was my brother that got treated like that, I would hate his ass. I'm pretty sure I would.
Yeah, no, well, they may have had issues with it, but
they didn't say anything.
I didn't notice.
I'm sure they would have. I feel like kids usually are pretty open about that stuff.
Mm.
Well, cool.
Well, I was the oldest by a couple of years, so it was more my eldest cousin and my brother more had the clashes because they were like 2 weeks apart. So they were more like just the rivalry because she was older for a whole like 14 days. So it was who was better out of those two. So
gotcha. So maybe one last question from Butters. I think it was Butters.
This should be interesting.
No, it actually was a good one. I think it was Butters. Or no, it was Mike. It was Mike Way. Sorry. One lesson from Destiny that you've applied to real life.
That is a good question. I don't know. I suppose it's helped with me being more comfortable with the general social situations. Just kind of being, I don't know, having to, or not having to, but being able to talk to more people and kind of being able to have I suppose my confidence grow and all of that kind of stuff. I've been able to take that and be, I don't know, use that in kind of what I do. But I don't know. It's a only shoot the hive. I don't know.
Aim for the head.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
cool.
That's one that you need to think about, I think. Yeah.
I guess there was one more from Bodkin that I missed. What's your favorite beer? And he specifically said Australian beer.
I don't drink a lot of Australian beer. I think at the moment I drink a lot of Kirin, like a Japanese beer. Okay. And then yeah, I don't know. I don't really drink a lot of beer. I more drink like spirits than.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nate, I can almost guarantee he doesn't drink Foster's. I've been told by every Australian that no Australians drink Foster's.
we export that shit. It's disgusting. It's
Funny. Like over here in the States, well, I mean, I haven't seen a Foster's ad since I was a kid, probably, but they always like dig real deep into Foster's Australian for beer. Like they really dig in. They're like, you want to be like an Australian, you drink Foster's. Like that's their whole slogan. It's just funny how off that is, you know?
But I think that also ties into the fact that we all wear Akubra hats and ride around on kangaroos. So.
No idea what you're talking about.
It was funny when I was in the Philippines working with one of our contact centers over there. Their part of their cultural training was outback Australia. That's what Australians were like. Were the people that actually wore Akubra hats and dealt with kangaroos on a daily basis and ran farms and all of that kind of stuff. And 90% of our customers live in the capital cities, and so they would have this impression of Australians that we would ride to work on kangaroos and live in the desert.
I can't imagine kangaroos would allow anybody to ride them to begin with.
No, but it's just one of those things.
Right.
Yeah, we just ride them to work, apparently. Yeah.
Kangaroos basically are boxers, dude. They just they're straight up savage.
Not really. Like, well, in the wild, yeah, but like we, I think that generally they're more inquisitive than anything else. Like they'll protect themselves, but it's like most things. If you're not annoying it probably won't annoy you.
For sure. Gotcha. Anything else?
That one picture of that kangaroo that was had been to the gym that I think did the rounds, and I think that's what everyone assumes kangaroos
been to the
like
gym.
Yeah.
The swolegaroo.
Swole kangaroo. Yeah.
Anything else that you want to close out with? Any other thoughts?
No, not really.
Where can we find you online? I'm gonna start doing this now. This is where you plug yourself.
Yeah, I know, but I'd need to actually stream more regularly to plug myself. You can find me at Twitch TV or twitch.tv/Sin0ptic with a 0.
Are you sure that's the right website?
What? Twitch.tv/
Sorry, no, it was like twitch.tv/.twitch.tv.
Oh, okay.
I was just giving you a hard time. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Sorry, Jace the jerk. I'm sorry.
Well, I tabbed off so I couldn't see you laughing.
Got you.
Twitch.tv/Sin0ptic with a 0. I think my Twitter is the same thing. Hold on, let me check.
I don't think it is, actually.
Yep. It's Sin0ptic with a 0. So
Draz.
Sin0ptic with a 0. Yep. That's pretty much it.
I'm gonna put your Twitter in here too. Sweet. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, and I'm sure we'll be playing again soon. But
it was fun.
Yeah, this will be up on YouTube soon. And
you recording this?
Yeah. Thank.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. It was like, I just assumed there weren't any people watching or recording, so it's just us.
Yeah, it's just you and I. Yeah, there's nobody else here. I turned off stream an hour and a half ago. It's just us. It's fine.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, no big deal. Well, I appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your Friday. I guess it's Friday evening for you, huh? God, that's so weird. Weekend and all that stuff. You get weekends off, right?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Sweet. Well, yeah, hopefully you have a good one, and we'll see you and talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Everybody say goodbye to Sin0ptic. Say thanks for chatting. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, totally cut him off. Well, that was our friend Sin0ptic. Again, you can catch him at twitch.tv/Sin0ptic with a 0 instead of an O, and twitter.com/Sin0ptic with a 0 instead of an O. Super nice guy. Been around for a long time in this community, and it's an honor to get to know more about him, for sure.